Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Welcome everyone. So this week our Torah portion is Vayishlach, which is He sent. Now, as we open this story, we see that it begins with Yaakov standing and sending his messengers before him to Esau, which was his brother, in the land of Seir, which was a mountainous region stretching between the Dead Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba. Now, notice how humble that Yaakov was as he told his men to tell Esau, or refer to Esau as my Lord, on behalf of Yaakov. You see, he was a very righteous and humbled man with respect for all, also having himself to be referred to as Avad, a servant to Esau. Now, not only was he humble, but he also blessed, and was blessed with Shachma from Yahweh, wisdom. And with it, he sent men ahead to find favor in Esau's eyes for him and for his. Now, to make it look like a numerous amount of blessings that he was going to bestow to Esau on his behalf, he sent them in two different trolls. The first sent, he told the other group to wait behind a little while. So instead of presenting it all to Esau as one gift offering, he separated and made it look like it was a numerous amount of blessings that he would bestow before him. That's why he sent them in two different trolls. And not only that, but if you think about it too, if he was fearing for his life, these animals would have also had slowed Esau and his men down, because they would have had to shepherd these animals and such. So it would have bought him more time. So if you think about it, it was a very smart technique he could have used. I don't know how he was using it or what exactly for, but it was a very smart way he could have got away with doing what he needed to. Now, he would wait for his remnant to return to him as a sign that Esau was not to be hostile to them, and also to give back a report of how many men were with Esau, to see what his intent was. Now you see, Yahweh blessed Yaakov with the gift of strategy likewise. Because now, always do to remember that if you stay in Adonai, that he will always stay in you, and with him in you, you have access to all of his glorious wonders and powers. Now, in doing so, Yaakov then divided his people into two groups. For if Esau were to kill off one group, then at least a remnant would remain to escape. So next, after he then prayed and spoke to Yahweh about how he was happy, but at the same time unworthy of all that Yahweh had and would continue to do for him, he prayed to be delivered from the hand of his brother Esau. But then he also reminded Yahweh of the promise that he made to, and that I will surely do you good and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which could not be numbered for multitudes. Now, this was a great lesson for all of us. Always remember, if ever there is a time when we are scared, that we can refer to Yahweh's true gospel for words of comfort and encouragement and love and protection from us through our Abba, Yahweh, and our Messiah, Yeshua. So if you ever are fearful, frightened, or anything else, just always remember that Yahweh's there. You can speak to him through prayer or just looking at his word and the true gospel and his true Torah. Now Yahweh surely fulfilled his promise and blessed Yaakov. So, that he had sent 2 droves ahead to give as gifts to his lord Esau, as to find favor as well in his brother's eyes. Now, as it is one thing to wrestle with yourself, you better believe that it is a whole nother thing to wrestle with Yahweh. But now, during that same night, Yaakov would arrive and took his 2 wives, Rachel and Leah, along with his 2 female servants and his 11 at the time children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And he sent them all across the stream along with all that he had acquired, which, if you think about it, must have been one of the saddest moments in his life. To think that it might be the last time that he would ever see his wives, in whom he loved, ever again, in his beloved children. But then again, is that what he thought? I mean, what if he knew that it was only temporary? Such in that he had faith in Yahweh to see him and his family and all of his people through. Think about it. So next, after he is left alone, we see that a man is soon wrestling with him until the break of day. But now, this is where it gets good, because as we were speaking earlier, here is where Yaakov wrestles with Yeshua. You see, as Yaakov earlier had received his blessings through deceivement, well, this time he wanted a true and just blessing. And in doing so, he would not let, get this, Yeshua go before receiving his true blessing. Because, let's face it, what better blessing than a blessing directly from Yahweh? So just then, Yeshua told him that he would no longer be called Yaakov, but now he would be called Yisrael, for he had striven with Yahweh and men and had prevailed. Now soon after, Yaakov, or Yisrael now, asked him his name. And Yeshua said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" But now, remember that later on, Yeshua would also ask, "Who do you say that I am?" Because he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, shortly after wrestling with Yeshua and being blessed, Yisrael lifted up his eyes and looked and had seen his brother Esau coming for the first time, because before he had seen him for the last time ever as who? Yaakov, exactly. But now he sees him for the first time as who? Yes, Yisrael. But before coming near to his brother, he bowed down 7 times for completeness until he came near to his brother. Now Esau had ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him. And they wept together, which is a precursor to that same thing that would happen when Yosef meets his brothers again. Now remember that Esau at first rejected all the gifts that Yisrael offered him. But eventually, Yisrael would convince him to keep it as proof that Yahweh had blessed him with even more than Esau in fulfilling his word. Now soon after they part ways and Esau returned to Seir, but Yisrael went ahead to where? Sukkot. In other words, he went ahead to tabernacle in the presence of Yahweh and Yeshua, such as with the feast of Sukkot are tabernacles, where we tabernacle with Yeshua. Now, remember too, the feast of Sukkot is Yahweh's true holy day, not the pagan day, which is the holiday versus the holy day of Christmas, which is his true holy day, not the man-made pagan day of Christmas, as many have been deceived into celebrating and observing, as the Torah numerous times teaches us against. So, as we move on next, Dinah, we find, who was the daughter of Ardabat of Leah, comes to be raped by Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite. But soon he would become infatuated by her and requested that his father get her to be his wife. But soon enough, Yisrael and his sons get word. But Shechem's father tried to offer them whatever they wanted, to make peace of it, and to have her to be his son's wife. But as his sons were furious, they soon deceived Hamar's people to become circumcised. But now remember, later on when Moshe gets the law, he says that if somebody comes and rapes someone, that there are certain ways to redeem this person. But remember, at this time, this was pre that. So things were different now. And now shortly after 3 days, while all of their males were still sore from being circumcised and feeling safe, Simeon and Levi took their swords against all of the males and killed all of them, including Hamor and Shechem. And they took Dinah from Shechem's house. And they likewise plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. But remember now that though it seems severe, well, Hamor never punished his son for doing a defiled thing, but instead tried to reward him by giving Dinah as a wife. So they were cruel people, and it is why Yahweh allowed all of them to be destroyed, all of the males to be destroyed. Now shortly after, Yahweh told Yisrael to arise and go to Bethel and dwell there, which means house of Yahweh, and to build an altar there. So Yisrael told all of his people to put away the foreign gods that were among them, that they picked up along the way, and to all who were with him, and to purify themselves and to change their garments, which I'm assuming refers to the children and the women that they picked up after killing all the males off. Because in order to be in the presence of Yahweh, this is why they had to change their garments and purify themselves. We must change ourselves to a Kodesh being with a Kodesh Nefesh and Neshama, body and soul, spirit. So as they did this and traveled, and as Yahweh was with them, well, a terror from Yahweh fell upon the cities that were around them, and they did not pursue Yisrael or his people. And when they came to Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he had built an altar and called the place El Bethel, because there Yahweh revealed himself to him when he had originally fled Esau. Now soon after Rebekah's nurse, Deborah, died there, they then journeyed from Bethel. Soon after, Rachel went into labor and gave birth to Ben-Oni, whom Yisrael called Benjamin. As Rachel's soul was departing, and she was buried in Bethlehem, house of the bread, which is Yeshua. So Yisrael set up a pillar over her tomb. Next, Yisrael journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Edar. Now, while he lived there, Reuben went and laid with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Yisrael heard of it. But now Reuben was Yaakov's firstborn son. Remember this. And Yisrael came to his father Yitzhak at Mamre, or Hebron, where Yitzhak and Abraham had sojourned. And Yitzhak was 180 years old when he passed away, and his sons Esau and Yisrael had then buried him. So you see, they met again. Now, as with our Haftorah portion, which is 2 for this week, well, with Hosea's portion, we come clear to understand that just as many today, that there are a lot who call out to Yahweh only when they need help. But other than that, they could not, or they could care less to spend true time with him. Now, when they call with a selfish heart, he will not listen. But since we are still his beloved, if we call, he will not torment us with his true and just anger. That would be truly true and just if he presented it to us. But he will love us endlessly, as to keep us as his beloved always. Now why? Truly, because it only takes one light in the world to light the rest of it, as Yeshua was the true light and lit the way for all others to join Yahweh. Because though Ephraim was full of lies and the house of Israel with deceit, but it only took, Judah, one, who still walked with Yahweh and was faithful to the Kodesh one. You see, Yahweh was letting Edom know that they weren't loved more by Yahweh to be the ones to oppress Israel, but instead were chosen to help reform them because Esau was actually despised, just as the Babylonians took Israel into captivity. Always remember that Yahweh is in control of everything. Even though there's evil in the world, Yahweh has the upper hand. So too, just as Yahweh had Israel and also Judah, they were punished for their sins and transgressions. So too will all be if we are not right with Yahweh in all of his ways. But just as Yaakov strove with Yahweh, Yeshua, and prevailed, so too can we with the help of Yahweh. Well, we can truly have and do any and everything. But remember, all that we have and are ever given was given to us not by ourselves, but by Yahweh. And as with Obadiah's portion, to Edom, understand that they were sinners, and they scoffed at Israel and took pride in their oppression. In fact, they chose to plunder what was theirs. But Yahweh tells us to never take advantage of others' disadvantages. Since Edom was evil in their ways, Yahweh was to deal with them justly. For what we do to others shall happen to you. For Yaakov and Yosef and all that are theirs would strive and be blessed, but those who are of Esau shall become stubble, and all that is evil will become great to Yahweh's kingdom. See, he will take the evil things of the world and renew them and make a beautiful, peaceful world. So anything that's here now, if it's evil, truly understand that it will be washed away, cease to exist, and only good and the living will survive and strive with Yahweh and Yeshua. Now, as we go into our gospel portion, many seek a title or a name in this world, but Yahweh never expects this of us. As the world seeks status, Yahweh seeks humbleness and righteousness. So this too is why Yochanan never gave them a title for who he was, but he was in fact a part of Yahweh's master plan, as he was foretold by the Nebula of Isaiah. Now the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, making straight the way of the Lord, Adonai. You see, we all sin, and we need Yeshua to give us access to Yahweh once again, as he is our high priest. We are not worthy without our, better yet, not accepting and having him in our lives. As Yochanan testifies when he says, I baptize you with water, but among you stands one you do not know, even he who comes after me, the strap of whose sandal I am not worthy to untie. Now Yeshua is the Lamb of Yahweh, That very same Lamb in Revelation, in whom opens these 7 seals. The one that the dove descended from Shamayim on. As Yahweh gave Yochanan the sign that it is the one that would be he. As Rebekah showed the sign to Eleazar that she was the one in whom would be his master Yitzhak's wife. Now later, when Yeshua would at the wedding in Cana turn the water into wine. Well, understand this, that Yeshua, which gives us the true living waters that we will never thirst from, also changed it to wine, the great wine from all those that are his, who bear great fruit. So next, not only does he give us living waters, but he too gives us the fruit of the vine once we accept and live and pass through him. And now we will have the Aaronic blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom.